Number 19, redo of number 19. We've posted 19 and had some audio difficulty with it, so we've gone back in time a couple of weeks. Same shirt, same day, just 2 weeks earlier, and we're going to redo this video. This video is entirely about this pedal, gas pedal mount right here. That's pretty fitting because I've got at least a week's worth of work into that design right there. One thing about going back in time, it builds a lot of heat. It's 100 degrees out here. My Portacool here, they were actually a sponsor of ours for a couple of years in the NASCAR series, and that thing will cool you down nicely on a 100-degree Texas day, but it makes too much noise when we're making the video, so no Portacool. So anyway, this thing right here, in the last video, I showed you how we designed one, which was the original old style, which was metal, which used the same tubing pieces that we used on our old steel chassis. I threw that in the trash for dramatic effect. I showed you the other 3 of these that I'd cut out of aluminum composite and threw them in the trash for dramatic effect. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that trash back, going back in time, so those are gone. This, actually, this is the one that I showed you in that last video. I think this was number 4. Said after a week's worth of work I was happy with it. Well, this is number 5 and I'm happy with it. This one right here, see this piece that sticks out right here and runs on up? It was starting to crash into cables and brake lines and so forth. So I've done another one that chops that off and doesn't have it. This actually came out stronger than this one. But I will, like I did before, these are Klecos, by the way. Man that works on airplanes asked me what these were the other day, and I was kind of surprised at that. They're temporary rivets. You squeeze them with the Kleco pliers here. This narrows up, you stick it in the hole. When you release it, it comes back on itself and flares out, causes tension, holds 2 panels together, and gives you a temporary rivet to kind of see how everything goes together. It's a pretty little handy thing to have. They come in a couple of diameters and so forth, but that's a handy $20 or $30 worth of tool right there. Pull these Klecos out of here. And I'll take this apart to show you kind of our origami aluminum composite. By the way, there's an article be out in the next few days in Car Builder magazine about this very type of thing on this car. But see how that is a flat piece cut out on a CNC. Bend it, bend it, bend it, bend it, bend it. See how it turns into something there. Same deal right here. Flat piece on the CNC. Fold it all up, bend it all up, gusset it all up. That goes into that. That glues to that. By the time you're done with that, you've got a pretty strong piece there. But there's number 4 going in the scrap pile. Here's number 5. This thing's got to be strong enough when we went to the ACM stuff, got away from the old steel design, to take the adrenaline of your foot in a torque motion right here when you get into a street race there. And with all the gussets, the way this thing's built, reinforced and done, I am extremely happy with the strength. This thing weighs 13 ounces. The old steel one weighed 13 ounces. But the pedal assembly now. This is a Willwood pedal assembly. Very, very common item. It's in every Cobra, every hot rod, every race car. Front and rear master cylinder for the clutch. There's 2 different versions of this. They mount the master cylinders in the front or behind it. Typically they're behind it. Typically they go through the firewall and they're out here. Well, there's a problem with that on this type of car. When you have that hood way low, fluid has got to flow downhill, so even with a remote mount reservoir,
you still got to have the reservoir of that lower than the mount, and by the time you get into it in the hood, it's way down here. By the time you get it low enough, if you look at a whole lot of these replica cars, these pedal assemblies are just almost dragging the floorboard. Well, that's the ball of your foot is not down on the floorboard, and it's just all wrong. By swinging these around, it enables me to raise it, get it up, get the proportions correct. Now, if you do that, you got to have access to put your fluid in. And our dash pod is on a hinge so that you can do that. Again, my hinge here, some more of my origami stuff with my carbon fiber overlay. If that does something like that, and you get into it and fill your master cylinders. We put the master cylinders on the seat tracks. We've had to modify them just a little bit. But this is the seat track that came with the seats. We've shortened it up just a little bit here. We've put the other handle from the other side over here, put some elevator bolts on here, and we're going to put the pedals on these tracks because that's about 1.25 inches tall, and if we move the pedals back and forth instead of moving the seats back and forth, we can get another 1.25 inches of headroom out of this thing. 1.25 inches critical headroom. So, I'll show you what happens here. These things here just go down in like so. Got some elevator bolts welded onto here. Those are going to go on there like so. An elevator bolt is a flat-headed bolt. I am told that they get their name elevator bolt because with a flat head, when they're in the shaft, the elevator goes up and down, doesn't hit the head. That's what they tell me. I'll put this on here. Let me just put a nut on here to hold this down. Now what you do is just reach up under the dash, grab these handles right here, and your pedals move wherever you want or need them. This assembly right here, see the pedal assembly? One thing I've been able to do on this that I didn't have on the old one, I've been able to incorporate a positive pedal stop right here. I have actually failed NASCAR Tech for not having that right there. Believe me, you'll never do that again. But anyway, pedal like so. Works off a typical cable assembly. Cable comes down, ties to this, mounts to here. This slot right here is to get to the adjuster nut back here. So we have just a typical throttle cable coming through here and working the cable. This thing right here is going to go in here. There's 4 threaded holes in the top of the pedal assembly, come standard with the on the pedals. I've just designed this to take advantage of those. That screws onto it with the 4 bolts here. And we have a pretty dang bulletproof pedal assembly. These pedals, we've also changed something. I've done this similar design on other cars, but I've changed something. I've also designed this to allow the pedal assembly to be permanently mounted here and put the seat tracks back down on the seats if anybody wanted to. Well, when you do that, you start changing the height of it a little bit. I've taken, what's an acceptable ball height of the pedals and taken an average and stayed within that, and we're good either way. But when you do that, then the brake and clutch pedal changes elevation and the gas pedal does not. So this right here ties that relation to each other regardless of whether it's permanently mounted, on track mounted, up and down, whatever. They're indexed to each other now, which it did not before. So way happy with all of that. That's what all that looks like. I'll put this thing in here. This cable comes up like so, loops around like this. This end goes back to the engine, and this loop right here just gets bigger or smaller as the
as the pedals move back and forth. Same way with our hydraulic lines. This is a nylon, some kind of fancy Greystone does these lines. I'm real happy with them. This is the line we'll be using. Same kind of deal here. Lines are going to go through here like this over the master cylinder, and that just does that as those go back and forth. These holes right here, we've got our Hayco grommets that we've talked about numerous times before that'll go through, but anyway, that gives the flexibility for all of that to change and move. This piece right here used to stick out right here on that old one I just threw away, and you can see how now then it's by chopping that off right there, I've gotten to where it's not in the way right here. Let's see here. Yeah, let me take this seat out. Where are we at on time? Okay. Take a seat out and show you what I was talking about here. Used to have a series of holes down here that you could permanently mount that seat in several options. By playing both ends to the middle, I have managed to get the bolt pattern of the seat and the bolt pattern of the tracks to overlap somewhat. So the seat will go in 2 out of 3 of these holes, I forget which ones, and the tracks will go in 2 out of 3 of those holes, I forget which ones. But you have the option to put the seat wherever you want it permanently. You have the option to put the seat tracks up here and slide them here, back here and slide them here. Use the seat tracks or not, raise it up or not, do the pedals or not, whatever. There's numerous options to be able to get the owner or driver well accommodated for the car. I think that's it for now.
So yeah, hopefully we have audio on this. This is actually the third try on number 19. Hopefully we have audio this time.